How's it going, Andrew? Can you guys hear me?
Andrew, we hear you fine. 5 by 5.
Hey, trying to find a good spot to set up my phone.
Okay. Andrew Carlson, how are you?
Hey, how's it going? Good. How are you?
At least fantastic. Thanks for asking.
I love it. I'm digging your tie.
Thanks, man. This is my first meeting of Andrews. Have there been others?
Yeah, so we have a month. This is our monthly virtual business conference, and usually we've got about we had about 15 Andrews in the Andrew Summit a couple months ago, and that was a pretty good showing. But it's been pretty tough getting a lot of people in here. I don't know, maybe it's something I'm doing wrong, but the attendance has been kind of dropping off over the last couple months. So
Well,
trying to work on it.
well, the is here, so we're here.
Yeah, man. I sent out a whole bunch of emails and a whole bunch of invitations. So hopefully we see some more people coming because Andrew Carlson has some pretty awesome stories about what he's been through in life. And I would love for all the Andrews to hear about what's been going on.
Well, there's actually a fourth Andrew here, and that's Andrew's AI note taker. So for those that aren't here, they can always have a chance to review it blow by blow.
All right. Is that it's automatically just taking notes on what's going on?
Yeah.
Cool.
I love Fathom. That's so good.
Man. I've had people that want to pay me to get it, and I have to tell them it's free. So I know what you know.
While we're waiting for people to show up, why don't you tell us about yourself, Andrew? Andrew, I don't know your last name, sir.
Let me change my Andrew Williams Jr. Andrew Williams Jr. Yeah, and I'm Googleable as such. Hold on, just 1 second here.
Yeah, I think that's how I found you.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, Andrew Williams Jr. is more of a title than a name because I was born as Andrew William Clark, of all things.
Hmm.
And when I was 6 years old, because my mom had remarried, I had a chance to either choose the name I was born with or choose a new name. So I decided on Andrew Williams Jr. So it's it's mine.
Yeah, all right.
Proud to be an Andrew.
Yes, sir. I love Andrews.
Yeah, but just to I am Googleable. I am back in 2009. Well, first of all, when I turned 50 years old, that was like in 2008. And I decided, well, I'm going to get on the internet and follow my mama's suggestion. She suggested that, well, in the first place, I was born in Macon, Georgia, right? And this was at a time in 1958 when I had to fight to be born. I survived an abortion attempt. My mom was really, really, really traumatized by what she'd experienced throughout her life, and she didn't know if she wanted to bring someone else in the world that she had to deal with. But I survived, and it turned out really well because I started speaking in complete sentences at 18 months, and at 3 years old, I was able to save her life because I was able to communicate to her a threat, and so she was able to survive that threat because I was born. If I hadn't been here, maybe she wouldn't be here either. So,
Yeah.
so it turned out okay. It turned
What
out
was the
okay.
threat? What was going on?
Domestic violence. My
Oh man.
stepfather had decided he was going to kill her, and he was convinced that she was two-timing on him, and he had planned, talking to me now, that he was letting me that he was gonna kill her. He was gonna pretend like he was drunker than he was and cause a fight and kill her because he was jealous.
Jeez.
And so I told her, and she was able to move the gun from where it was. And uh, when he started to attack her, she was able to defend herself
Yeah.
and survive. So
Wow.
yeah, so yeah, like that.
That is
And,
heavy.
yeah. So yeah, those are. But then the reason why I said I did what my mama told me to do 7 years later. It was just about this time, really, on April the 4th, when Martin Luther King was assassinated. That was the first time, and I had been reading like since I was 5 years old. I get comic books and newspapers and things, but the woman I was buying them from told me to stop talking white and stop reading so much. I'd end up dead like that nigger king.
Oh,
And
Jim.
I had no clue what. So I told my mom, and she chastised the woman, and then we had to talk. And at the end of it, she said, "Well, the first thing you have to do is survive, right? And then find a way to reconnect our human family because we all have red blood. We're all one family. So I got to
Yeah.
find a way to reconnect, all the dots. I have indigenous, I have Celtic, I have African, obviously, right? But my task is to find a way to reconnect our family. So, and when I turned 50, I should. Oh, that by the way, that was when the financial meltdown happened, and so it wrecked my client. I had a client for like 10 years, and he was an attorney. I was a legal secretary, and I did all this work. But it shut him down, and I decided, well, I've been doing this last 50 years of what I wanted to do for me, so I better do the next 50 years with what my mama told me to do. Find a way to reconnect our human family. So you'll
Yeah.
find me out there, Andrew. I was ambassador. Andrew. I was one of the first Facebook ambassadors, right? Because I use social media to have real world impacts. And
Huh.
so I've recruited now over 100 goodwill ambassadors around the world. So that's basically what I do. I try to find ways to promote causes I care about and then find people that of like minded interests and then promote those on Andrew networks.
Right.
So in a nutshell, that's what I do, Andrew.
Hmm. Can you tell us a little bit more about Andrew Networks?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
I know I saw the Wikipedia article you showed me, and it was like a network on college campus. It was one of the first Wi-Fi
Yeah,
networks.
yeah, that was the incentive I had because, of course, there's Andrew Carnegie, Andrew Mellon, and together, they formed this what's now Carnegie Mellon, but they set up the first online campus network that was interconnected. So the Andrew Network is actually started out as an Andrew project, but it's on Wikipedia. This is the first network to connect together college students together, and so I kind of took that on because I've always been interested in new media, right? And so back in 1984, about 5 years, I spent about 6 years writing out this entrepreneur survival handbook at that time, right? And the whole key of it was based on voicemail, which was a new technology at that time, right? And of course, in dot boom, dot bust.
Yeah.
But the internet allowed me to work with a young lady here in Los Angeles. Her name is Alicia Hamilton. We're still in touch, but she has an online platform. She launched. Um, Here's the thing. She was walking one Saturday morning behind her son. He was watching the cartoons, and she got grossed out by the rampant violence and all that stuff in the commercials. And she says, well, kids need a safe place to have content that's educational and inspiring. So she wrote her own network. And for 10 years, it was online. It was called the Revelation Network because it was like faith-based. But she had over like 100,000 subscribers. But surprisingly enough, she couldn't find corporate sponsors to help with a religious network.
Sure.
So she morphed into the Universal Citizens Network in 2017. And then during COVID, she decided to go to terrestrial and satellite. So now she has a network where she's got about 100,000 subscribers. I have a channel on there where I can actually introduce people, and I used to have something called Conversations with Andrew Williams Jr. But when COVID happened, there were people I knew around the world that wanted to have meetings and they didn't have the technology. I had the platform. And so Andrew Networks, it was kind of an organically grown collaboration. I have probably about 75 different nonprofit organizations around the world that I do free. I let them do their free Zoom. I use my Zoom so they can do their events. So I've had I've got about 300 events I've recorded now over the last couple of years. It's on YouTube. But the Andrew Networks is intended to be a place where we can add the finishing touches, add in commercials, public service announcements, to reach a wider audience. So this is Andrew Networks is like a network for citizen journalists, people in their local area that kind of tell us what's happening with this mainstream news. Like this morning, I was flabbergasted. I have a guy in Bangladesh, and you may have heard about it. There was a major fire there where like 30 people were killed. And he was there on site, and he sent over information about it. So I'm right now, I'm going to stream it later on. We have Facebook pages where we stream stuff, but that goes to our network. So I've got an infrastructure to work with, guys, but I just really need content and kind of help to polish it up so we can kind of go viral with it. That's where I'm at right now.
So is it like a social media platform type of deal?
Yeah, it is. It's originally it was like what's called OTT. It pushes out to any digital device, your phone, your computer, anything like that. But now she has the ability to go out to Amazon Fire, to Roku, all that stuff. But again, it's like infrastructure there, but without content and without personnel, it's kind of, well, what next kind of thing.
Right.
But for example, if I were hosting this instead of you, I could stream this to our Facebook group, right? And that would also, then I could post that on our network. So we have to reach a wider audience. That's what I've been doing for people around the world so far. Yeah. But it's just me. So, I don't have a team to help. So I've just brought it to this point. So we're moving forward to find a way to monetize it at some point,
Right.
Yeah. So Andrew Carlson, I'm waiting. I'm anxious to hear your story, man.
Are you?
Yeah. Andrew, that's got to be ready.
This meeting is being recorded.
I should have started recording sooner, man. You had such a cool story. I wish we would have got the camera. But
we've got it on the AI recorded it, so it's there.
Oh yeah, all right.
I'll send it over to you.
Sweet. All right. Yeah, Andrew Carlson, let's talk to you.
All
right, let's kick it.
Housekeeping notes, right? For a wider audience, please introduce Andrew, you, and then who are we? Why are we? What are we doing here? Who's Andrew? Give us some intro. Yeah.
All right, let's see. Well, what's up, everyone? I'm Andrew Patz, founder of the Council of Andrews. We're here today with Andrew and Andrew for Andrew Summit, and we are talking about what they've done, what they've accomplished, and we're trying to share some experience and expertise with Andrews around the world. And we hope you guys get some knowledge from this. This is Andrew Summit today is sponsored by Athletic Brewing Company. It's a non-alcoholic beer, so if you're drinking, you get the flavor without the alcohol. So it's pretty tasty. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but because they haven't officially sponsored us, but
But
I love this beer.
you're sponsoring them.
Yeah.
The unofficial sponsor.
Yeah. So yeah. We just talked to Andrew Williams Jr. just a little bit ago. Unfortunately, that wasn't recorded on this video session, but Andrew Carlson is up next, and he has some pretty awesome stories.
All right, so let's kick it off then, shall we?
All right.
So let's go. Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Carlson, and I'm curious, who here believes that personal health also impacts your business and financial health? Yes, no, yeah, of course, of course.
Absolutely.
And
Yep.
it's crazy the number of people who are going to, especially entrepreneurs, since this is the business council and everything, how many people, especially the younger generation, where they're like, I got 5 hours of sleep and I'm grinding and hustling and doing all these things. And then all of a sudden you flash forward in their 40s and their 50s and they're having heart attacks and they're falling apart and they don't get to enjoy the legacy that they're having. So whether it's due to severe illnesses, chronic illnesses, heart attacks, all of those things. Well, I was actually one of those, except it didn't happen to me when I was in my 40s and my 50s, unfortunately. Why? Well, because I'm only 33 right now. But I've lived a very long life in a very short amount of time. And I don't know if this is like my last iteration on this planet, if you believe in multiple life cycles or whatnot, but I don't know what's happening. But I had my first incident when I was 21 years old. Fun, right? When you turn 21, you think you're gonna like take on the world and you're gonna start drinking and do all these things and partying. Well, if you would have told me even 3 years ago that I'd be in the health industry right now, helping other people with their health, I would have laughed at you in the face because the health industry was the last industry I thought I'd ever want to be. So let's talk a little bit about my story. But here's what happened. When I was 21 years old, I was living in Minnesota at the time. I moved from Minnesota to New Orleans, literally packed up my car and said, I want to work in the movie industry. I had a mentor at the time. She was like, all you have to do is walk up on set. I'm like, that's not that easy, but it's not easy. So I literally packed up. I had $500, didn't have a place to live, drove down with a friend down to New Orleans. And as we were entering New Orleans, there was some rando person on Craigslist that said, yes, you can live with me in my living room. And I said, okay. I had no fear. And then the next day when I got to New Orleans, I literally found a website that was this underground website where it told you all the locations of the different film sets. And on one of the film sets, I walked up on the film set. I said, hey, I want to work. And they said, here's your walkie-talkie. And that's how I ended up working on movies like 21 Jump Street, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. I started working on Nissan commercials and Prius commercials and Ferrari stuff. And it was really cool. I was like, everyone struggled to get in the film industry, but I was like, all right, let's do it. And I showed up and I just made it happen. It was really cool. And then one time I was working in a commercial production office and they were like, you need to do all these things. And I didn't realize how much stress the film industry has. But one moment, all of a sudden I'm doing the things that I need to do. And the next moment, just like that, I'm on the ground. I don't know how long I was out, blacked out, totally blacked out. I woke up and people were standing around me and they were like, hey, are you okay? I'm like, I don't know what just happened. So they rushed me to the hospital. They're like, we just got to check you out to make sure that you're fine. Turns out the heart rate went super fast and it caused me to basically pass out and faint. And then I woke back up. And back when I was 17 years old, I had to get a quick ablation for something and I didn't put two and two together. If you don't know what an ablation is, they basically go into your heart, burn scar tissue to prevent the electrical impulses from going too crazy. But that didn't actually hold. So then I started going through multiple series of tests, stress tests, not everything showed up normal. All of these things kept showing up normal. And they're like, okay, just go back to work and do all of your things. So then this happened again on another production film. All of a sudden, boom, blacked out. This time, though, there was a paramedic on the scene and they found out that I was having this severe heart episode that was going on. So they said, if you don't take care of this, you're actually going to die. So great, fantastic. I don't want that. I'm 21 years old. I want to work in a movie in Hollywood. That's what I want to do. Who would have thought? And so what ended up happening was after a series of tests over the course of like a year, they found out that they can't figure out what's wrong. They just said, well, we honestly don't know. So to be safe, we're going to implant a defibrillator into you. Not a pacemaker, so it's not going to cause my heart, it's not going to pump my heart for me, but it's a defibrillator. So if my heart goes crazy, it can shock it and make it go back to normal so I don't pass out, because it's when you pass out when you could die. So I said, do I have to? And they said, well, yeah, otherwise you won't have a license for the rest of your life. And I was like, okay, I want to drive. so I got the defibrillator and they said, all right, now we need you to lose some weight. I wasn't obese, but I wasn't skinny. So they're like, okay, we just need you to like work out, get healthy, get your cardiovascular system rolling. You have this defibrillator, so if anything happens, you'll be safe. So what ended up happening, I moved from New Orleans to Los Angeles, and Southern California is where I've stayed for the last 12 years, which I love Southern California. It's fantastic. It's like my home. But I moved out there because the guy who created like the mask, he was the special effects makeup artist on Benjamin Button. He did all of these crazy like Oscar-winning films. He's like, hey, if you ever need a job, come out to Los Angeles and we'll let you work for me. So I ended up working for him. But when I was working for him, the stress levels were high. And at 22 years old, they're like, hey, we need you to work out. I started working out on the hills of Los Angeles. And when I started working out, all of a sudden, out of the blue, boom, it hit me. I got kicked in the chest by a horse. Not just once, not just twice. The defibrillator started shocking me. It's supposed to shock you once or twice, and then your heart rhythm goes back to normal. Except my heart said, you're going to punch me, I'm going to go faster. So I ended up getting kicked in the chest by a horse for 70 to 80 times before it finally stopped. I literally was laying there on the ground, on the road, on a hill in Southern California, flopping around like a salmon, getting shocked. And there was nothing that we can do to stop it. You have to let it run its course. So ultimately I had to go, okay, I'm getting shocked. I know what's happening. The first time or two, I didn't know. I was disoriented, but it's like shocking you one after the next, after the next, after one every couple, like once a second or something. And what ended up happening was after the 70 or 80 times that finally stopped, because I had to tell myself, okay, you're getting shocked. It's time to start focusing on like meditation and stay calm. It's hard to stay calm when you're getting kicked. Like, like the adrenaline that's pumping, the last thing you really want to do is learn how to stay calm. But I ended up getting through that, called the hospital. They came and picked me up. They rushed me to the hospital. The only way to get my heart rhythm to stabilize was to get me into surgery. So they put me into surgery. They fixed the heart up. They said, all right, after the surgery, they took me back out. They said, well, that's not going to happen again. We're going to put you on these heart medications. What we need you to do is we need you to start working out again, and then you'll be fine. Started working out again, even with the heart medication that's supposed to stabilize the heart rhythm so it doesn't go too high. Ended up, this time I was at a gym, on a treadmill, got zapped, fell off the treadmill, then ended up getting shocked for another 70 to 80 times. Super fun. And so I had to go back to the hospital, go back in to get surgery, and then for the doctor to say, here, we need you to take this other medication. So now I'm on 3 medications. Now what we need you to do is we need you to start working out and you're going to be fine now. I'm like, okay, this is not fun, but I will trust you again. Now, over the course of this 1 year at 22 years old, for the 3rd time, I started working out to lose weight. Went to the gym, started working out, bam, got zapped again, 60 to 70 times. Finally, they took me into the hospital, they rushed me in, they fixed the heart rhythm, they stabilized it, and they said, we don't know what's going on. We just need you to not work out so intense. So over the course of 3 years, between the ages of 22 to 25, I ended up going through 10 different heart surgeries, because every time I would work out, I would get zapped anywhere between 50 to 80 times, and then they'd have to take me into the surgery, fix my heart rhythm. So finally, by the 10th time, I said, okay, enough is enough. I've wasted the beginning part of my 20s. I want to live out the rest of my 20s normal, as a normal 25-year-old. Like, I want to be able to enjoy things. And they said, okay, what we need you to do is we need you to not work in such a high stress environment. And I said, great. So restaurants it is. So I ended up working in restaurants for a while, and we'll circle back to that in a second. But on the very last time of getting a heart surgery, I said, okay, enough is enough. I'm not taking these medications anymore. I'm not going to be doing any more surgeries. I need you to turn off the shock therapy of the defibrillator because I'm not doing it anymore. And I'm going to just risk life. Like that's it. I'm just going to risk life. So the night nurse, like the surgery went well, the heart was stabilized, heart is a little wonky, and I always, whenever there's a new nurse, I always have to remind them and educate them on how my heart acts because it's different than what they're used to based upon their textbooks and based upon what they've seen before because I'm everything that they haven't seen yet. So I don't want them to freak out. So I needed to educate the nurse. And the doctor said, okay, he's going to be on this medication just to stabilize the heart rhythm. But too much of this medication will be toxic and can cause issues. So it's in an IV form right now. When you start giving him the pill form, you need to start dialing back down the IV form because you can't just rip it out. Because if you just rip it out, you could potentially kill him. Okay, so she gave me the first dose of the pill form. And then she went away and then came back a few hours later and gave the next dose, not realizing that she wasn't turning down the IV. So slowly over the course of that evening, by 5 or 6 p.m., I started shaking really bad. Like I had Parkinson's. Like it was that bad where I couldn't sit up straight. I couldn't hold myself. Like I was talking fine, but I had to have somebody to help feed me because I couldn't hold anything. I'm like, this is really strange. I don't know if this is supposed to happen. And the person that was with me at the time, she had been with me for like 4 days in the hospital. And she was like, I need to go home and get some sleep because I'm tired. And I said, something's wrong. You shouldn't leave tonight. Like I had that sixth sense where I'm like, no, you shouldn't. But she's like, I need to go shower. I'm gross. So she went home and she lived in Pasadena. So if you know anything about Southern California, going from Pasadena down to Beverly Hills to Cedar Sinai, it seems like 30 miles is 30 miles, so it should be 30 minutes, but it's not. It can take up to 90 minutes just because of traffic. So she went home. I ended up by 1 o'clock in the morning realizing that something was wrong. And it took me an hour to just text her saying, get here now. Just those 3 words, get here now. And by the time she got there at 5 a.m., I couldn't talk. And like in my brain, I was like, what the heck is going on? I don't know what's going on. I'm terrified. Like, why isn't any of the words coming out of my mouth? But externally, all you heard was, like I could just grunt. All motor function gone. I was shaking so bad. She literally grabbed the doctor by the ear, dragged him into the room, and said something's wrong. And he just went ghost white. Was like, crap. They pulled the IV out of me, like they said they were going to, because it could kill you. They rushed me down to get a brain scan, and they realized that I was only moments away from stroking out and dying. Luckily, after 6 hours of being off the medication, I kind of came to my senses and was no longer there. But from the ages of 25 to 31, I ended up living with severe chronic illnesses. IBS, I had pain all the time, I had severe brain fog, over 17 different lifestyle autoimmune issues that ended up happening, and I didn't know what they were. I wasn't diagnosed with them, but I know that I had them because of what I know now. And if I were to go back and actually get the diagnosis, the issue when it comes to getting a diagnosis is that, especially with lifestyle diseases, it takes anywhere between 3 to 5 doctors just to get a diagnosis, and at least anywhere between 3 to 7 years to get that diagnosis. So I didn't quote unquote get the diagnosis, but I know that I had them based upon the issues that were going on and underlying. But for 6 years, I thought this is just what getting older was like. I was like, oh, I guess I'm, 26 years old, 27 years old. I'm just going to be overweight forever. I was 265, 275 pounds at my heaviest, almost like on route to get to 300. And I couldn't stop it. I was like eating healthy. Like I was eating the things, I was staying within my macros. I was staying within my calories in and calories out. You can't eat over 2,000 calories. But I kept gaining weight and I didn't know why. And I felt tired and fatigued all the time, and I didn't know why. And I ended up having to drink 3 to 4 espresso shots a day, plus have 5 or 6 cups of coffee every single day. And on top of that, at least 1 to 3 energy drinks just to make it through the day. And it was a lot, but I never saw anything wrong with it. I just thought this is just what getting older is like. This is what being an adult is. This is just how we're supposed to function. And I would power through my businesses. So I ended up working in the restaurant industry, grew a restaurant that was just a hole in the wall in Los Angeles, downtown Los Angeles. It was making $50,000 a year, but I grew that to $1 million, and then we ended up franchising it. So I flew around the world opening up all these restaurants and became the director of training. Then I opened up my own restaurant coaching and consulting firm where I helped grow restaurants and I helped save restaurants that were dying and failing and flip them and turn them into successful things. And that's kind of where I hit my boots on the ground with business. And it was really fun where I was able to do really cool things in Southern California, but I was just powering through all the time. And then, 2020 happened and we lost 3 years. We don't know what happened. It's just that the world just went away for a second, but we came back. And when I was 31 years old, just 2 years ago, I ended up having to figure out how I could fix myself, because I finally figured out this isn't normal. Like being 31 and being so tired, leaving parties because I just needed to go to sleep, and everyone just knew me as the Irish goodbye person, because I literally, when I got tired, I was like, I have enough energy to get home and drive safe, and then I'm going to pass out because I'm so exhausted. And I honestly don't know how I had a successful business while also being this tired. It was crazy. But it was really fun being able to like write an Amazon best-selling book for restaurants, and then having other restaurant consultants follow after me with their own books, and seeing how I was able to help create a trajectory of success in the restaurant field for those restaurant consultants. But I started looking at, okay, what's the root cause of this issue? Like, if we were to take away everything, so many people, we just, especially as business people, we look at what's the problem? How can I solve this problem? But I'm a Disney kid. I grew up on Disney movies. If you've ever watched The Lion King, you know that when Rafiki looks at him and says, "Look beyond what you see," I was like, okay, let's look beyond what we see. Let's kind of look beyond what the actual problem is. So going through the series of, well, Western medicine failed me. So let's look at Eastern medicine, and let's look at natural medicine, and let's look at how we can do things differently. Because if we cut our finger, what do we tend to do? Well, first we go, ow, that hurt. And then we put a Band-Aid on it. And we just expect that our hand or whatever we cut is going to fix itself. Sometimes it needs stitches to kind of bring it together. But what we do is we just know and trust that it's going to heal itself. But why don't we as a society do that with anything else when it comes to our body or with our health? So I started just going, okay, where are we at here with the body and our health? And I came to the conclusion, and I was talking to a friend, that the foundation of our body and our health, everything is created up of cells. Everything is a cell. Our skin cells, our blood cells, our hair cells, like everything is created by cells. So what would happen if we kind of ignored all of the symptoms that we see, but we actually fixed the cell themselves? Would that change anything? And cellular health is it was very much new. It's still very new. And it's kind of still emerging. But the more and more that we're finding out, we can see that if you actually fix the cell and actually help the body, because the body regenerates cells anyway, again and again and again. Every 7 years, you have a brand new body, because that's the way of the cellular health life cycle. But what can we do to help speed up the death of those cells that are dying, but keep duplicating healthy cells? Because our bodies continue to deteriorate over and over and over again. Because of why? We have unhealthy cells, so it's going to duplicate unhealthy cells. But how can we fix the cell so that it can go back to duplicating healthy cells? And that's how it happened. So between the ages of 31, I opened up a business because I saw a supplement company that was helping with cellular detoxing. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this process. And when I do this process and it works, I'm going to create a business off of it. So I did the process. And I kid you not, in 6 months, I went from being 275 pounds. He disappeared. I'm going to keep going. It's recorded.
I'm the host. But Andrew's the
Right.
host. Keep going. We're good.
I ended up going from 275 pounds, super fatigued, dealing with IBS issues, running to the bathroom all the time, dealing with pain, like everything. And in 6 months, symptom free, lost 75 pounds, no pain, no issues whatsoever, healthier than I've ever been. I literally look like I turned back the clock when it comes to my skin. And just everything healed itself. Nope, we're still going. And then what ended up happening was after that 6 months, I went, we're on to something here. So then I created a presentation, and I was working with a friend at this time, and we ended up bringing people in from Facebook, and I was like, hey, if you have this issue, if you have any of these autoimmune issues, if you have these lifestyle diseases and dysfunctions, we have a solution for you. And the really cool thing is when you pair things with nutrition and specific supplemental support, the body can do really cool things. But that wasn't what was cool. It was really cool to get my health back, let me tell you. But I was also learning, because now I was like, now I'm intrigued. So then I started studying with some of the best functional medicine doctors in the world. I was like, I need to know how this stuff works, because it was really cool. I was like, again, I never went to university. I could never afford it. So I was like, okay, how do I create something from this? Because more people need to know about this. If I can take my lifestyle issue and we can tweak things nutritionally to make sure that it's going to be very bioidentical for the individual person, but utilize the same supplemental regimen to kind of help flush out the toxins from the body. Because if you've ever gone to the dentist and they've given you a silver filling, chances are you have toxins in your body that continue to pour into your body every single day. Every time you chew, more and more toxins get into your bloodstream. Whether you believe that or not, it's actually been proven these days that little incremental bits of lead are going into your system that are causing issues, which is crazy. So how do we have all of this toxicity, and why is chronic illness kind of getting more and more and more common? Something's wrong. It comes down to the food and it comes down to the environment. So how can we do all of these things? So I ended up creating this business where I was like, let's get people in. And we worked within the first year, over 100 different clients with different illnesses and diseases and dysfunctions, all in the autoimmune issues, to where the medical community doesn't know how to handle autoimmune issues. But we go, oh, the reason why people are having autoimmune issues is because they're depleted in vitamin D. They're dealing with high levels of stress, and not just external stress. The body can handle everything external, even high risk things that all business people go through, like investments. But internally, when we lack vitamin D, sunshine, and we're not all blessed to live in Southern California, so not everyone can actually, get sunshine all the time. Some people live 6 months in the Midwest, where I'm from, Minnesota, where they don't get sunshine and it's cold. So why would you want to go outside? So we lack vitamin D, which is the support that our immune system needs. But over the course of a year after that, I was able to turn the cellular health business into a 6-figure business. And the reason why I was able to do that, though, was because I took what I learned and then I created a process and a system around that. And then I just passionately told people about it. I never sold anyone once. I just said, hey, this is what worked for me, and it might work for you too if we just do a few small tweaks depending upon what your situation is. And then I had a friend that said, want to know something really cool? I can teach you how to read blood work differently. And I was like, what do you mean? I don't know how to read blood work. And she goes, yeah, but most labs, when you read blood work, the blood work is being read through a certain lens of just health. Think of it like being graded on a curve. But what ended up happening is, as our health gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, what happens with the labs? The normal gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. So when a doctor says your labs look normal, normal does not mean optimal. So when you're dealing with health issues and symptoms, what do? Treat the symptom. But through labs, we get to see what's the root cause of it. And I will tell you, 100% of the time I've read anyone's labs, and I've read over thousands of labs now within the last year and a half. It's been wild. But every single time somebody says, your labs look, my doctor said my labs look normal, I come back with that to them with a 20 to 30-minute breakdown of everything that is causing dysfunction in their body. And every single time they go, why didn't anyone tell me? No, because they don't know. The medical community doesn't know. I love the medical community because if I get my arm chopped off, guess who I'm going? I'm not going to some shaman. I'm not going to go into a nutritionist to get my arm put back on. I'm going to the hospital. But when it comes to lifestyle diseases and preventative things, the hospital's not set up for that. But we go there because that's what we're told to do, and they give us medication to get the symptom. But what do you believe to be the commonality or the cause of all disease? Does anyone know? Going once, going twice.
I want to say food. Everybody
Food.
eats the food in America that has a lot of questionable things in it, and I'm thinking that's probably what's going on.
Okay. How about you, Andrew?
Well, I was thinking environment more so than food, but
Okay.
environment.
Okay, very good. I love both of those. Both of those play a huge role, but it comes down to dysfunction. And where does dysfunction come from? Stress. Stress creates inflammation. And while inflammation isn't necessarily bad because we need it, especially when we're dealing with a virus or an illness or a sickness, and our body needs to create that inflammation to heat up the body so it can like burn up the virus and actually flush it out. And it's a very important part of the systemic process. Sustained inflammation is where we run into the issues. But when we talk about stress comes from our environment. Just like, here's a fun fact that I just found out, because I'm constantly studying. I will never say I'm an expert at anything, but I will constantly be studying, where indoor pollution is 2 to 5 times more toxic than outdoor pollution. Because all the chemicals that we use, all the fragrances that we use, all of the oils that we use, and all the things that we use in our cooking, and just everything, our shampoos, all of it is causing issues. And what have kids been dealing with lately? Screen time, staying indoors instead of going outdoors. So we're creating toxins. So the environment plays a role, but also the food plays a role, because now they're adding things in to make it cheaper, especially when inflation goes up. What do we need to do? We need to buy less things or buy cheaper things. So we buy the cheapest stuff. What allows you to buy things at cheap costs? Cheap products, which are made through processing. And those processing chemicals cause issues and dysfunction and stress in the body. So, but this is a business conference. This is a business summit. The same is true with our business. When you don't lean into the data or the SOPs, or we make snap decisions based off of emotions in our business, guess what ends up happening? We end up getting into trouble because we're not relying onto data. Same thing with our health. Because when we have emotions and we hold on to emotions, and as entrepreneurs, we hold on to emotions a lot. We handle a lot, but the body's actually designed to handle every external source that's out there. But it's not also designed to handle the internal sources as well. So that's where people run into issues, because they hold on to things and they just shove it down, they shove it down, they shove it down. They don't get enough sleep. They don't get enough fresh air. They don't get enough sunshine. They're not eating properly. And all of a sudden they have a really highly traumatic event, like they lose out on an investment, or an employee steals from them, or they do something crazy. And then all of a sudden now there's a domino effect that happens that causes them to have disease and dysfunction. But the coolest thing ever is being able to have somebody go from, I feel like absolute crap, to 6 months later, I feel better than I ever have before. And this has only helped me become a better business person, because I go, okay, I see the problem at hand, but the problem has come from somewhere. So if I actually, instead of addressing the problem itself, unless it's a problem that needs to be addressed right away, but if it's just the symptom, where did it come from? Where in the business system is causing that dysfunction in order for me to clear up that symptom instead of just attacking the symptom? Because you hear most business owners talk about what? I just put out fires all day. Why? Why are you putting out fires all day if you're only so you're just attacking the inflammation instead of looking at the systems to help you run your business more efficiently and effectively?
I can't
So
imagine. I can't imagine, Andrew, that you could have come to these conclusions without having to live the life that you lived from 21 till 31.
right.
And so your subject matter expertise, how does that fit into a business model that will allow you to help people and also help yourself to reach more people?
Well, right now I have my business is up and running with that, and I've just been marketing people there. So every time I do a speaking engagement, every time I do everything, I just have advertising revenue that comes in that I point people into that, and I look at their labs, I read their labs, do a consult, and then I get them in.
Great. You know, I did a Google search for Andrew Carlson, and I came up with your author, right? But I want to introduce you to someone else if I can share my screen. Post disabled screen share. So I want to share my screen briefly here. I had an opportunity here in Los Angeles about 5 years ago to meet a very interesting person. His name is Newton Lee, and I was invited to be an advisor on, well, actually, what he does is he provides opportunities for people around the world to come here to Los Angeles to get mentored by a group of advisors from around the world that may be able to assist them in their journey. And so, let's see if I can share my screen with you. Basically, yeah, it looks like I'm sharing the screen. Can you see my screen by any chance?
Not yet.
Okay, I didn't push the right button. Hold on a second.
Hmm.
Share screen. That helps.
That'll do it.
So this is the team. It's IFERS, the Institute for Educational Research and Scholarships. And this is the team. The guy standing on the left there, he's Newton Lee, a very interesting person. If you go to, which I did, I Googled him, and so there's a Wikipedia page here. He's a computer scientist who's an author and administrator in the field of education and technology commercialization, known for his total information awareness book series. Andrew, my mind is telling me that it might be smart for me to connect you two together, right? Just as a matter of being able to just, I'm a connector. And as you may know, the word Andrew also has biblical implications because Andrew opened the door to Jesus for his brother and technically for the rest of the world. So we're door openers. So
I love that.
so part of my raison d'etre as the founder of Andrew Networks is to network people together. So I do want to connect you together. But look, Andrew Patz, I would like to ask you if we can have the permission of Andrew Carlson and you to rebroadcast today's business summit.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, share it everywhere.
So now that's going to help. I need both of you to do something for me, though. I need you to find some logo or something that shows how people can reach you. I mean, we can do this in post-production. If you like, I'll just, end up and send it to you, right? But it would be smart if we use this as an example, right? And so, because we could do these interviews, Andrew, can you imagine doing an interview with the people that have revolutionized their lives through working through the steps that you're doing right now? I mean, this would be helpful not only to them, not only to you, but to the people that they know and would likely never have the kind of in-depth conversation that we're having now about this background, right? Couple of things. One, the internet, as you may know, is not just perpetual, but it's eternal. It's almost impossible to take anything off once it's there. But the hidden benefit to that is we can actually build, if you so choose, what I could consider intellectual property value from building upon as we go forward. We can actually build a series just on having conversations and then package and promote them, Andrew. So technically the benefit, the educational benefit And this is where I don't know if you have a nonprofit, that you're working with, or you have your own, but I would suggest, connect it together with maybe even the Institute for Education and Research, right? Just as a thought, to be able to funnel these stories, because at the end of the day, you're here in Los Angeles, right on Vermont Avenue. George Lucas is building a $1.2 billion museum for narrative arts. So it would be helpful for us if we would begin to take advantage of that opportunity since we're right here. And looking down the road, I mean, we've got the Olympics coming up in 2028. We're going to be inviting people from around the world. What about building the stories about things happening here in Los Angeles, about real life success stories that we can actually begin to, I would like to think that we could begin to build a network of people that are interested in connecting with the people that they connected with, even if it's virtually, right? We have the technology. It doesn't cost, this Zoom costs like $20 a month.
Mhm.
I mean, come on now.
Yeah.
Let's do something. But anyway, those are just some thoughts that come about since it's a business summit, as I understand it. I want to adhere to what Andrew Patz has asked us to do, right? Make this a business summit where we have valuable content. And one way to do that, as I said, is to just simply create or share a graphic that identifies who you are or what your organization is. Let's find out what happens. Let's start pushing people. Let's create a hashtag. So those are some of the thoughts that come to my mind.
When you say a graphic, do you mean like something that would be behind me right here?
Well, I'm just thinking right now. I mean, you have for the Andrew for the Council of Andrews, you have a logo for it, right?
Yes.
Well, share your screen. Duh.
Yeah.
Or share other things. The whole idea is for us to be able to use we're here, right? So
Right.
just to show what we're doing. And let me make you host again. I thank you, but you didn't need to go that far. But I'm going to make you host again, Andrew. So you're host again.
Yeah, I don't know how to turn on the host or the screen share for other people.
We'll work it out later.
We'll fix it in post.
Yeah. It'll be part of the B-roll in the future.
I love it.
So Andrew Carlson, what brand are you working with, or do you have a brand that you're using?
Yeah, it's called ReGenHealth.
And do you have a logo of that brand? Do you have a webpage of the brand?
Yes.
Well, I believe it might be interesting to be able to. Andrew Pat, if you make me host again, I'll be able to make the adjustment so that we can all share our screens without a problem. But I
Oh,
would,
sweet.
yeah, I'd like to be able to make this a very productive outcome here. And I like to share my website, right? Maybe we can each share our website or share something about ourselves so that we can then be able to maximize the time we spend together here, guys. We all have things to do, and it's impossible for us to be able to maximize that if we don't be the samples of the samples. Okay, so now everyone can share their screens. I'm going to make you host again. So, oops, not Carlson, but Pass. All these Andrews are confusing.
Whose idea was this? Oh, I think you're muted, Williams Jr.
Yeah, I am. I have multiple screens going. I'm going to take the forward here. I'm going to share my screen. I'll do that.
Sounds good.
Right there. I'll be the sample of the example I was telling you about. Just as Andrew Carlson, you've been that sample throughout your life too.
Yes,
So Andrew Networks. Today's this portion of today's show is being hosted by Andrew Networks. And we deliver solutions throughout the world through this network. And let's see here. I haven't done this ever before, so let's see how this goes. You can find what our mission is, our vision, what we represent, and you can meet the founder, Andrew Williams Jr. I do a particular raison d'etre, as I said, but my focus is on doing a lot of what you're doing, Andrew Carlson, finding ways we can help people help themselves, right? So Andrew Networks represents a wide range of humanitarian causes and commercial enterprises, championed by Andrew Williams Jr. as Chief Executive Officer of the PARXTC Export Trading Company, as a way to attract, pre-qualify, indemnify, and expand strategic international business alliances that accelerate the awareness and achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. More about that later. Through PARXTC, sovereign and foreign trusts, banks, corporations, enterprises, associations, and entities can do business with and through California, the U.S., and its territories, signatories to the Canada-U.S. Mexico Agreement, key trading partners from Asia to Americas to the Caribbean, which is called CARICOM, the Commonwealth of Nations, the European Union, Middle East, Africa, Continental Free Trade Area, and worldwide. Now, there are some basic principles that we build our relationships on, and since I'm not streaming, I can share this because normally when I share this, when I share this because it's copyrighted, sometimes I'm unable to show the whole thing. So let me start over again. I'm going to share my screen. This won't take about 2 minutes, guys. So bear with me here. Just a moment, please. Thank you for your patience, too, by the way.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so here we go. So this is the raison d'etre here. This is the sustainable
peace and sustainable development around the world. Their mission is huge.
I want to get it all in, so let me do this way.
Organization with goals of peace. The United Nations is an organization with goals of peace and sustainable development around the world. Their mission is huge, but we're breaking it down in 2 minutes. 17 sustainable development goals. Let's get to them, cause the more you know. Look, in some corners of the world today, people are living on $1 a day. Hey, that's not how it ought to be. So go 1, eliminate poverty, and go 2, root out hunger across the globe. There's 800 million people hungry if you want to know. Number 3 is health and well-being, and getting people the health care that they need in. Learning in school are the hard to go for. Education opens up minds and doors. Goal number 5 is empower girls and women so they can have the same rights that men are given. Number 6, people need water that's clean. Poor sanitation can spread disease. Carbon-free energy is goal number 7. And how to achieve it is the question that's pressing. But if we put our minds together and work hard, we can find a solution, I'm guessing. 17 sustainable development goals to improve life all around the globe. Protecting human health and the environment. Whatever bed we make, we're gonna have to lie in it. 17 sustainable development goals to improve life all around the globe. Protecting human health and the environment. Whatever bed we make, we gonna have to lie in it. Now imagine that you work all day for no pay. Economic growth and decent work is goal 8. Goal number 9 is to foster innovation in infrastructure and industrialization. Goal number 10, inequality reduction. 11 is sustainable city construction. 12, well, that's sustainable consumption. So what we use matches up with production. Goal 13 calls for urgent action to combat climate change, cause we know it's happening. 14, protect life under seas. 15, protect life on land. Goal 16 is for peace and justice. All over the planet, they're in high demand. And the final goal, number 17, is the critical factor, the heart of the machine. It's the strength in the way we achieve these goals of sustainable development around the globe. Yo, 17 sustainable development goals to improve life all around the globe. Protecting human health and the environment. Whatever bed we make, we gon' have to lie in it. 17 sustainable development goals to improve life all around the globe. Protecting human health and the environment. Whatever bed we make, we gon' have to lie in it.
Okay. So Andrew, how familiar, if at all, are either of you with that? 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Not at all. Here in the
Sorry,
United
what was the
States,
question?
what, how familiar, if at all, are you with the 17 Sustainable Development Goals?
This is my first time hearing about it.
That's not surprising. Here in the United States, you may have, well, let me give you a little background about it, right? Back in 2000, there was um, a new secretary. Well, in the first place, the United Nations is based here in the United States, right? But it does have representatives from around the world. There was the first African General Secretary of the United States. His name was Kofi Annan, and so he was the General Secretary in 2000. That's the year when over 193 countries came together to decide that it was time for us facing a new millennium. We needed to find a way that we could have peace on Earth during our lifetimes. Simple idea. And so they created what's called the Millennium Development Goals for the 1,000 years. But it's broken down into like 15-year segments. So the first segment was called the Millennium Development Goals. They had 8 goals, beginning with ending poverty and ending up with like global partnerships. Those 8 goals were decided by probably less than the number of Andrews on this call right now to figure that out, right? It didn't go so well around the world because people, well, you leave a lot of stuff out. So in 2012, they did a worldwide survey of over 3 million people for like 2 years to figure out, well, what are we doing here? What world do we want? And that was the theme of it, right? So they actually had input from people around the world and created a survey. So now there's 17 sustainable development goals for this next phase from 2015 to 2030. Something you may have heard about when President Trump was in office, that one of the first things he did was pull the United States out of the Paris Climate Agreement. You may or may not have heard that, but that was another important thing where you had countries that have come together and made decisions that these are things we need to do to keep the Earth's temperature at a rate that won't be so catastrophic outcomes like the kinds we're going through now, right? And then President Biden, went back and joined it. But here in the United States, because there's been so much narratives in the media about the United Nations is horrible. They only want to take our money and do things for other people around the world. That's been the narrative that I heard quite a lot. But the reality is that, and I have to tell you, I don't agree with, condone with, or even support 100% of what this organization does, but it does represent most of the nations in the world with a common agenda to work together. So you may have noticed Andrew Carlson, goal number 3 was good health and well-being, right? So the reason I bring this up is because there's an organization called the United Nations Global Compact. And this is an organization that Kofi Annan founded at the same time he launched the Millennium Development Goals. The idea was to give civil society, civil society the ability to hold accountable businesses and governments for what they publicly claim they want to do. And you might hear a lot now about DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And there's a big pushback against that. That was previously known as ESG, for environment, society, and governance. But before that, in 2000, it was called CSR, corporate social responsibility. That's where Kofi Annan and the United Nations Global Compact had heads of corporations publicly state what their CSR would be. There were 40 corporations that made this commitment back in 2000. Now there are 18,000 around the world. Actually, of those, about 5,000 are civil society, like nonprofit organizations, schools, chambers of commerce, like that, right? But here's the thing. They also have something called the CFO Task Force, the Chief Financial Officer Task Force. They're responsible for $1.5 trillion of capital. And they've committed $500 billion of that to these 17 Sustainable Development Goals. So this is kind of where I'm getting back to you, Andrew Carlson and Andrew Patz, from a business summit standpoint. It kind of makes sense to the best of our ability to use narratives in our discussions, in our descriptions, that let us link with these overarching, activities that could easily bring us more exposure to what we're doing, particularly, like you say, in good health and well-being, right? But the flip side is also true. We could reach more people with the messages that we're trying to get out there. And so my effort is, over the last few years, let me go back briefly to my website here. Thank you again. My effort has been to provide a place where there could be a place where people around the world, regardless of their economic status, can be able to share their narratives with each other and find out how much we have in common. I mentioned the Olympics earlier. There's also something called tourism for SDGs. So they have specific descriptions of all these 17 goals related to each of these areas for tourism, for example. And what I've done on my website is I've made this available. But for good health and well-being, for example, if you click there, it will actually take you to, oh, yeah, it does take you to Snapchat 3. It takes you to good health and well-being, but related specifically to tourism. So just for those that can't read it, COVID-19 pandemic has deeply impacted the tourism sector with a spillover effect of unexpected socioeconomic consequences to many other sectors. The link between tourism and the importance of health and well-being has been highlighted even more during the pandemic, blah, blah, blah. And you've said this yourself, Andrew Carlson, how impactful COVID-19 was on the healthcare field. But here's the thing. There are several, in addition to like 17 big goals, they've broken these down into 169 targets. So each goal has specific targets that they're looking to address. Target 3.3 kind of falls within what I think, Andrew Carlson, that might be of interest to you, because it deals with health guidelines and also access to medicines and vaccines. So, I mean, there's a lot of pushback now, as you know, against vaccines, and there's a lot more effort to focus on non-traditional ways of healing. I had the opportunity back in 1995, yes, 1997, to mentor and provide like ghostwriting for a nursing student. And what she found out, or what she shared with me, is that there actually is a built-in bias on the part of medicine as we know it to be more focused on the solutions to the medical field rather than solutions to pain and suffering and conditions that you've already described here, Andrew. So I'm agreeing with you that, we need to have a new paradigm for what we're working with. But just to finish the walkthrough on my website here, there are 17 targets. But also, there's something called Envision 2030 for goals to transform the world for persons with disability. I'm disabled. I had a childhood accident. I fell like 2 stories and I crushed my spine, right? And so right now I have the elephant on your chest. I have chronic obstructive pulmonary disorder, right? But that doesn't prevent me from using the talents and skills I have to have an impact on the world. I do know, however, that it's important that I hope we all take the responsibility for understanding that we're all connected together. So that technically, Andrew Carlson, you too are facing a life of having experienced painful disabilities, but that didn't stop you from achieving the goals that you've achieved so far and setting up what you want to accomplish for the rest of your life. This year marks my 50th year of doing what you said, Andrew, which is always learning, always trying to strive to learn, to keep learning. I was both homeschooled and, of course, I attended public school. But the idea is that with technology available now, we can all, those of us that are able to access the internet, get information that can change our lives. So part of what Andrew Networks is I mentioned to you, it's a platform for what is now termed the ad hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors. That's the acronym of AHIABGA. And we're able to reach people through various means. On Facebook, we have the AHIABGA-TV network. We have a YouTube channel. We even have AHIABGA.NWN on the New World Network, right? So all these are platforms where I produce, like I said, maybe over 300 different videos for people around the world. But Andrew Carlson and Andrew Patz, I want to let us take advantage of this platform too. It's not just for people that can't afford it, it's for people that can do something with it. So I've given you both kind of hope to maybe find on your website, find it on your computer where your website is. You can share it or graphics. So I'll turn it back over to either of you to start with. How about that?
Are you saying like so Andrew's on the Council of Andrews website, we've got a business section where we'd be able to put your website on our website.
Well, let's do this.
Is that what you're
Let's share your screen to go there and show who's already there.
talking?
Yeah. If
Let's
that's, I mean,
see.
I don't know if you're on your phone or your computer. Is that easy for you to do? Or if you put the link in the chat, I can do it with my screen if you prefer.
Let's see. I am on my phone.
Yeah. Well, can you type what's the website for the Council of Andrews?
Okay, go ahead and check out councilofandrews.com.
Okay, Council of Andrews.com. Okay, I've taken the first step by putting it into the chat. Now let me copy and find a convenient browser to go. I found us. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and you're going to walk us through it. Hold on just 1 second. Well, I've got a lot of screens open, but here's the one that says Council of Andrews. Got that. So Andrew, why don't you walk us through, give us an introduction about whoever you are. And in the future, of course, we can edit this out and put this at the beginning, but give us an intro. Let's do what Andrew Carlson would call a Hollywood do-over.
Okay, I gotcha.
Walk us through it. Who are we?
So my name is Andrew Patz. I started Council of Andrews back in 2019. I wanted to have a place where Andrews can come together and just share funny things, become friends, and it actually turned out to be something pretty cool. We ended up getting 1,000 members. One of the Andrews had a problem. His ex-wife was abusive to her kids, or to their kids, and Andrew needed help raising money to battle her in court. So he came to the Council of Andrews, and Andrews rallied together to help out Andrew to win this custody battle. And he was able to get his 2 kids away from his ex, and we were able to raise like $1,500 for him.
Wow.
It was at that point I realized that the Council of Andrews has some real potential to change the world. And I went out and I made the Council of Andrews a nonprofit organization. I'm not really good at the business side of things, so I'm still working on how the logistics of the council works. But we have raised thousands of dollars for Andrews who are in need. One Andrew needed a new prosthetic, and we helped him get his prosthetic. Another Andrew needed a new laptop for his school, so we helped get him a new laptop. We have pizza drops where we give people pizzas, and like food's expensive. A lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck. Andrews come together and help other Andrews by giving them some rest, some pizza.
Mhm.
So we also have a scholarship for people named Andrew. We've been able to award about $600 for people named Andrew to go to school. It's a pretty small scholarship. It's only $50, but eventually we want to have a full ride scholarship where people can come to the Council of Andrews and get some help with their schooling.
Well, before you go forward, let me just say to you that I've been conducting these workshops. I have a workshop coming up next weekend. It's maybe 3 hours long, but it's for this is the International Women's Month. So we have like 30 different people around the world. They're only going to speak for like 2 minutes each, but we are going to be issuing certificates to those that participate. The Council of Andrews can actually also provide scholarships to these workshops and others so that you can begin to help right now a lot of people. But this is where Andrew Carlson comes in, because I was suggesting earlier that he partnered with a nonprofit. It makes perfect sense for that nonprofit to be Council of Andrews to start with. But let me not digress. I'm going to go ahead and click on committees.
Okay.
And you can tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So one of the things about Facebook is it's just a message board pretty much, where people put their memes or they put their stories on Facebook. But as more people are posting those things, the more diluted the story becomes. So when people come in there, they want to see, let's say they want to see some things about cars, right? They want to connect with other people who are car gearheads or whatever. They come to the Council of Andrews, but there's no dedicated spot for them. So eventually we came up with this idea to have committees where people can come to our website and they can go to these different committees where they can connect with other Andrews who are interested in those topics. So like Andrew Summit is a subsidiary, I guess, of the Commerce Committee right there.
Okay.
The Commerce Committee is dedicated to entrepreneurship and leadership, and yeah.
Yes, so I guess I'm going to join the group.
Oh yeah.
So I've sent the request. I may not be able. Okay, yes, I'm a Drew. Do you have a skill set to offer? Well, communications.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
So you're reviewing it, and once you're able to, once I'm getting it okay, I'll be able to take the next step. But this is for our viewers. I'm gonna rebroadcast this today, if that's okay with you guys, and we're just gonna, let it organically do what it does, so to speak. But let me go backwards here, I think, to the Council of Andrews. That was Commerce Committee. I'm gonna scroll down here further because I've been scrolling while you've been talking to let people see what the various topics are and what committees there are. Let's see here. I love it.
We got a ton of different topics that people can come together and share interest in.
So at the very top, I do want to say, Andrew Carlson, I noticed there's a fitness committee. Might you be in that group as well, Andrew Carlson, or not?
I am.
Excellent. So I'm going to click on the next one here. This is the business connection. Okay, site. So by Andrews. Okay, so let me move my.
So right now I'm trying to build a website where Andrews can put their businesses onto our website and promote their businesses with other Andrews. The goal is to have Andrews doing business with Andrews to keep money within the Drewish community. Drewish.
Yeah, members of the Drewiverse.
Yes. So
okay.
So it's still a work in progress. Right now we've got if you go over to digital services, you'll be able to see some of the Andrews who are offering their services to other Andrews.
Okay.
Digitally.
Excellent.
So this is Andrew Council. His name is actually Andrew Council. He's a pretty cool guy.
Okay. I'm going to add myself over there too as well.
Definitely.
So I'm going to go back to home and I'm going to click on Council Andrews. This is where it was, and then merch. So it seems like you may have a plan also to offer merchandise from Andrews. Is that how it works?
Yes. So this is our Redbubble site. It pretty much slaps our logo on everything you can think of.
Okay.
It's okay. It's like, oops, I don't really like it. I'll be honest.
But it's there.
Yeah. This shirt that I'm wearing actually came from a custom, it's a custom shirt that I made at andrewsonly.com.
Well, let's show the shirt, Andrew.
Yeah, here we go.
All right.
Council of Andrews, that's cool retro wave.
I love
And then
it. Oh yeah, yeah. All right. Congratulations, man. I love what you're doing here.
thank you.
I'm gonna I think that kind of wraps us through the Andrew net councilofandrews.com, right? But we have Andrew Barr joining us now. So as we go along, we have more and more Andrews coming in. So I'm gonna let you, Andrew Patch, take it back over to engage Andrew Barr if you so choose.
Yeah, Andrew Barr, can you hear us? Are you here?
And Andrew Carlson, you're getting ready to share your website, right? Or not? You have time?
I have time.
Okay.
I mean, it's just a master class, so you just opt into it.
All right. Well, Andrew Barr still hasn't unmuted, so go ahead, Andrew Carlson, and take the floor. If I might be so bold.
All right. When you go to my website, you'll see, boom, launching soon. But don't worry, because one of the things when it comes to the health side of things, where we talk about the underlying cellular causes of disease and why you're having low energy, you can come check out my masterclass. And when you click on the masterclass, you'll be able to go in there and basically see all the different reasons why they logged in for the masterclass and why people are dealing with fatigue, brain fog, and fat gain, and how you can fix that in record time. So this is a 4-part series that takes you through 4 days of deep diving educational information, and then you can book in a call with me at the end. And then my business name is ReGenHealth, so if you have questions, you can always look at that and check me out on Facebook as well.
All right. All right. I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, I haven't prepared myself to share my screen with my own contact information, but I'm going to again ask Andrew Barr if he can unmute himself or if he'd like to be able to participate. Otherwise, if you put your email address into the chat, I'll send out a link to the rebroadcast for those that are joining us, that didn't come in at the beginning. And with your okay, Andrew, Pat, I'll include your contact information in the comment section so people can follow up with you like that.
Sure, definitely.
Well, I've done everything I plan to do. I'll turn it back over to you, Andrew Pax.
Oh, looks like Andrew Barr's here.
Can y'all hear me?
Oh, there
Yeah,
you
there
go.
you are.
Hey, man. Welcome home.
I'm currently cooking dinner right now, so I'm just kind of listening in.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. We appreciate you.
No problem.
Yeah, as I mentioned, though, if you can get your hands free before we end and put your email address into the chat, we'll make sure we send you out the link so you can hear the rebroadcast if you choose. And also, I have an AI companion here that's going to produce like a summary so you can catch up on anything that you missed, Andrew Barr. But thanks for being here, brother. Appreciate you.
No problem.
Okay, Andrew, back to you. By default, I'm a master of ceremony, so I just take over. But ball's back at your court.
So how long have you been doing this kind of stuff?
The pandemic is really where I got my chops, so to speak. It was kind of unusual. A friend of mine was supposed to provide Zoom hosting for an upcoming event. This was back during May the 25th, and there's this group that was focused on the African diaspora. For those of you who don't know, there are 55 countries on the continent of Africa.
Mhm.
There's one organization called the African Union that represents all 55 of those countries. It was founded in 1963 as the Organization of African States, but it was changed the name in 2002, I think it was, to the African Union. They defined the diaspora as consisting of those people born outside the continent of Africa who self-identify as being of African descent, and also align themselves with the African Union's consultative consuls, consultative status, and they do have what's called Agenda 2063, whereas in 2013, the current chairperson created this vision of a 50 years look back. In other words, in 2063, looking back over the last 50 years to see what had happened so that the African continent and the diaspora could thrive, so to speak. And they created a 10-year plan. It just finished up last year. So they're taking these 50 years in 10-year spans. So there's the first like 10-year implementation plan, et cetera. I had the privilege in 2012 in visiting the country of Bermuda, or at least I should say the island of Bermuda, which is just outside the United States. But it is the oldest, it has the oldest relationship with the United States itself. It was formed, it's still a member of what the overseas territories of Great Britain. But anyway, I was invited there by an alumni. Since 2000, I've been a member of a think tank. It's called Global Business Incubation, and that was actually launched on the campus of Loyola Marymount University here in Los Angeles in 1991 by someone that you may not know. His name is Dr. George Kosmetsky, but I'm sure you do know Michael Dell. And so George Kosmetsky was Michael Dell's teacher, and he became chairman of Dell Computers.
Whoa.
But for those of you who might know something called Silicon Valley, he's credited with being the father of Silicon Valley as well. He created what's called the IC Square Institute on Austin, Texas, focused on innovation, capital, and commerce. And so here in Los Angeles, the president and vice president, president and chief researcher, Tanya McDonald and her husband, Paul McDonald, the chief researcher, I was introduced to them in 2000. And so I became very much involved with their think tank, and I was invited to become, I can show you the website. I was invited to become an advisor. My particular role is as what's called a zero-time solutions facilitator. and there's a method to the madness, though. Zero time was a management philosophy that was developed by a co-author of Dr. George Kosmetsky. His name is Raymond Gay, also with the IC Square Institute. But the idea was that at that time they were looking for what implications would the internet, or would the ability to deal with the internet, what would that look like? And this was back in 1998. And the focus was on time. And the idea that the internet would be, and is, in fact, the most effective medium for us to utilize all of our skill sets based on time. And he created something called the zero time management philosophy for the 21st century. And I had a chance to meet him as well. He became my mentor. So I put on the hat of zero time solutions facilitator. My task was to find ways to accelerate whatever's going on by applying these zero time principles. But I'm going to briefly share my screen again. This is the organization, Global Business Incubation, Inc. And these were the futurists. So whenever you hear the word incubation, this is where it all started back in 1991 on the campus of Loyola Marymount University. These are the people that began it. This website is still functioning, although the president and chief researchers, they're now in their 80s. In fact, the chief researcher passed away several years ago. But you can see that these were blueprints that they had taken out of the corporate playbook. Dr. George Kosmetsky was also well known as the founder of the National Manufacturing Association. That brought over 200 manufacturers together, and collectively they were able to then bid on billion-dollar contracts with the United States government. And the idea was to take the same knowledge and bring it into the local community. That's what Global Business Incubation is designed to do, to find ways to take these global blueprints and then localize them to a specific area, no matter where it is in the world. But because it's here in Southern California, this is where it began. This is the team. On the right is the co-founder, Dr. George Hess. He was the dean of the Conrad School of Business on Loyola Marymount University until his retirement just a few years ago. We also have a current member there. On the left, you see the guy in uniform. His name is Arnold Bray. He was a retired general. He heads up with all the GBI Emerald veterans. But here you'll find me, and I'm Andrew Williams Jr., as I say, a GBI Zero Time facilitator. We have others that are still active individually, but it's up to, I guess, me really to kind of bring this forward to the best of my ability. But so anyway, this is the background of what brought me to here. And
Yeah.
one of the other alumni, his name is Warren Smith on Bermuda. He was chief know-how officer. So his task was to put this know-how together. And so we created our own bond. So separate from GBI, we were incubated. I was brought in as the only non-Bermudian to a think tank there on Bermuda called the Sanctum Think Tank. We were incubated, if you would, by rootcause.org. And that was based in San Francisco, but they had a branch in Bermuda. And you'll find if you go to rootcause.org, I might be able to do that as well. But they are focused on delivering solutions to nonprofit and non-governmental organizations with, again, the tools and resources that corporations use to bring it down to the grassroots level. So Corn and I were, I was there for like 8 months. They hosted me there on the island. I was in heaven, right? I was in heaven. Yeah. But it was a very deep spiritual experience for me as well. That's the closest landmass to what is known throughout the people of African diaspora as the Middle Passage. And you may or may not know, right? There are like millions of Africans brought from Africa to the Americas, primarily to Brazil, but also, of course, to the United States as well. But unfortunately, there were millions that were either thrown over, jumped over, or otherwise were pitched over on the way to the. So Bermuda is the closest landmass to where all this happened, and they there was a deep spiritual experience I had while I was there. It was like, honestly, it was like I was in touch with something greater than myself. But at any rate, Point and I wanted to find a way to again do what my mama told me to do, like reconnect our family. So we created a social contract. Here in Los Angeles, back in the early '60s, Dr. Malanga Karenga, he was a member of the US organization, and collectively they created this idea of Kwanzaa that you'll hear about every year after Christmas. It's like 7 days after Christmas that was focused on universal principles, not just for the African Americans, but based on principles from the African continent. So Cohen and I decided to expand that idea. Rather than just limit it to 7 days a week, once a year, why not take this to 7 days every week and do it for 7 cycles of 7 years? And that would align us with what I mentioned to you earlier, the African Union's Agenda 2063. So the idea that we outside of the continent could find ways we could find commonality with those people on Africa, which, as you may or may not know, everyone on Earth can trace their ancestry to Africa. So the idea is reconnect our entire human family. So anyway, we created that social construct, and right now, just like you might know the biblical story of 7 years of abundance followed by 7 years of famine, we turned around. We did 7 years of sacrifice to then go to 7 years of abundance. So the first years were based on the first day of Kwanzaa, which is called Umoja, or unity together. And the second phase is called Kuji Chigulia, which is self-determination. So technically, this is that second phase. So now my focus is on finding ways to empower people to determine their own futures and find ways we can work together in unity. So in a nutshell, that's kind of where I am right now.
Yeah, reconnecting the human family is what the Council of Andrews aims to do in our own way. We're reconnecting the Andrew family, but Andrews are all humans. So it's been such a cool experience. It's been a difficult experience. It's cool, but it's difficult because there's so many Andrews with different walks of life, and those different walks of life clash a lot. So it's been it's been a challenge to make sure that there's peace among Drews and keep everybody keep everybody from, you know, falling back to the tribalism, the us versus them. I want us to be all Drew united.
Well, you're doing that, Andrew, just by what Andrew Carlson and I were talking about earlier. He's the example of the sample because he has lived experience, right? He's not talking from what he learned in school. He's talking about what he went through and what he articulated from his own experiences. So to me, that's what he's doing now is development of his self-determination. He's, creating his own life in charge. So just because he's here and you're here and I'm here, you're achieving your goals and objectives too, because here we are, Andrew, connected together to improve what we have to work with. So I want to thank and honor you. I really appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, while you're talking, I'm thinking like, who do I know who can help with your mission? There's one Andrew, his name's Andrew Wynn, who you might like. He works with uh, ex-convicts and I think prisoners as well to help rehabilitate them by teaching them how to garden and take control of their emotions and give it a healthy outlet. So he's got this nonprofit organization in Sacramento where he helps all these prisoners, like helps them have a healthy habit.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
I really respect what he does.
I love that. And let me ask you now, how can Andrews connect? What's the best way you would recommend that Andrews connect? Because you're right now you're Andrew, you're Andrewing us.
Right. I've been trying to figure out how to get Andrews to connect. I think Andrew Summit is the way to do it because as we talk to each other, we say, "Oh, I know an Andrew who can do that." It's a lot more difficult to get that kind of connections on Facebook.
Sure.
So because there's so much information on Facebook that a lot of times it's missed. But when you're in this kind of focused summit, you're able to say, "Oh, I know an Andrew."
Right. Well, I have a recommendation for you, and it's something that again, just part of my lived experience that in creating a WhatsApp group, for the Andrews that want to participate, it allows you to kind of put content there, so that it's easily available to everyone. Again, in most cases, it's free, around the world. Most people can access it, but I'll put my thinking cap on, Andrew, and think about ways that I can suggest that may be able to help move us forward on accomplishing the objective for Andrews.
Thank you. Yeah, we've got a Facebook Messenger group where it's the COA Business Leaders Chat. So there's 80 people in there, but only a couple are here today. So.
No worries.
Yeah.
Well, look, previously, when you've done your summits, what happens after the summit? Is it just you record it and put it in the rafters and just leave it there, or what happens to the summits?
Let's see. It is recorded. It's on the cloud. I haven't gone through and edited them yet. After the summit, I like to talk to the people who were participants and say like what went right and what went wrong, like how could we improve. Last month it was me and one other Andrew, so it was kind of dead. But this month I got you two, and you guys are pretty cool.
We three. Andrew Barth here.
Oh yeah, Andrew Barth.
Well, again, if it's okay with you, I'm going to rebroadcast this and share it. And in the comment section, you can always edit it, right? But if you guys give me information that you want me to include in the comment section, I'll do that. Otherwise, I'll just start with, the organization and the website. That's the basic stuff to start with. And then, Andrew, we can, decide how to go from there. The help I need really is in packaging and promoting events like this. So if we become the masters of this, then that would advance my ultimate objective. Yeah.
That is the goal. It's, I want it to happen so bad. I want the Andrews. So the ultimate objective of the Council of Andrews is to provide such impactful benefits that we can send brochures to expecting parents explaining why they need to name their kid Andrew. And so we want to have scholarships, and we want to have home loans and auto loans and health insurance, and basically a society of Andrews, maybe even a civilization of Andrews. And the more I think about it, the more I just want to keep expanding it, because right now we've got a community of Andrews, and the community is awesome, but the next level is like a society of Andrews, and then civilization, and maybe space civilization.
Now, I did notice also that you had Andreas mentioned as
Yes.
well. So I would like to suggest that we do our best to make sure we include as many Andreas and that derivative as we can, because at the end of the day, you have to have both of them to create a civilization.
Exactly. That's part of the reason why we decided to allow them. Yeah, because I mean, Andrews can't have babies. So some Drews can, because like there's Drew Barrymore, but we definitely need the Andreas.
Well,
Oh, actually, yeah.
I'm excited about today, guys. I just want to thank you so much. I have an upcoming meeting I need to transition to, but I
All
just
right.
want to thank you so much, Andrews, for being here connecting. And make sure I have your both of your emails address. I see Andrew Barr is in there, so make
Okay,
sure
let's see.
your Andrew your email. So I'm going to give it another 5 minutes, and I'm going to take off. If that's okay with you. Yeah, let me see if I can save the chat. Yeah, I'll save the chat. And I recommend too, if you guys haven't used the function, at the bottom of the chat, there's like 3 little dots, and you can save the chat so you can get information in there too as well. And I don't know. Oh, let me type in my email information. Andrew. Andrew.
Hold on just a second.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
All right. So before you take off, if you send me an email with your address, I want to send you this postcard. It's a thank you card, and it's got
Yeah.
the 7 values of Andrews on it.
Oh, yeah. Lovely.
So yeah, if you send me some, and I'll send you some business cards too.
I'm digitally connected, so what I'd love for you to do is send me the PDF of the postcard, and then I'll be able to share it immediately. But I'll
Okay.
look forward to getting that in the mail as well.
Okay. Yes. Awesome. It's so yeah. I love these. I've got them like posted up on my house, like on the walls and stuff.
Then we need electronic billboards of that as well. You know that, right?
Yes. Yep.
Look, Andrews, I got to take off. I love
All
you
right,
both,
Andrew.
y'all. I'm
Love
gonna
you
be.
too.
I'll send over the link to those people whose email I have.
All right, man. Thanks for joining us, and keep kicking ass.
Yeah, Drew on.
Well, I think that concludes our Andrew Summit.
It was a good one.
Yeah, that was cool. That guy was awesome. Jeez. It really, like hearing his story and his goals and objectives, it makes me want to do, he makes me want to be better. That's awesome.
Love it.
Like, Well, want to hit up the strip?
Let's do it.
All right. Andrew Barr, it's too bad you couldn't make it, dude. We're in Las Vegas and we're about to go have some fun now. But hopefully next time.
Hopefully, y'all have fun.
Yeah, Drew Fest is coming up on August 30th.